guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mills and I make videos about life in the Dominican Republic, the K-1 visa, expat life, traveling kind of solo as a female, all that stuff and more. If this video is helpful for you, if you can hit subscribe, that would be very helpful for me. If you can turn on notifications, comment, like, all of that is really great. Maybe share it with someone that you know that maybe is in the visa process as well. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about the K-1 visa interview. For those who are new to my channel, I lived in the Dominican Republic for 2 years, one in Jarabacoa and then the next in Santiago de los Caballeros. That's the second biggest city in the DR. I met my now husband pretty much actually before I even moved there, but didn't move there for him. And then we did the K-1 visa, which is the fiance visa or the 90-day visa, like the 90-day fiance, the show. We did the whole process from the Dominican Republic since I was living there. So it is possible to do the process from the DR as the American, or what the government refers to as the petitioner. Chris, my husband, is the beneficiary, or I'm sponsoring him to come here. And I thought it might be helpful to talk a little bit about what to expect in the interview for the K-1 visa. I did a couple other videos, which I'll link to in the description, of the whole K-1 visa process and what paperwork you need and the binders that you should have and the proof that you should bring. And then another on the adjustment of status, which is the process that you have to do after you're in the States and after you get married. It's a whole nother packet of evidence and information and paperwork that you send to USCIS. And if you're kind of at the interview stage or coming up to it, I think this will help you kind of just focus on that, because the interview is one of the most nerve-wracking parts of the whole process. I was insane. I was so nervous, but I really didn't need to be. I shouldn't have been, which easier said than done. My anxiety is insane, so I would have been regardless. I did a lot of research, so I just want to help you guys for anyone that is preparing for that step in their K-1 visa journey and getting ready for the interview. In this case, your visa will be sent from the United States to the embassy in Santo Domingo. That's the only embassy in the DR, and that is where you will have your interview. So now you have your appointment scheduled. Ours was originally for, I think, August 24th. And we kept looking on cac.gov, which you're probably familiar with if you're already in this process. That's where you scheduled your appointment on. And we saw an opening for like August 4th or something like that. So we were like, all right, let's change it. And then randomly one day we saw an opening for July 24th. And we're just like, should we do it? Sure. So we changed it. You can change it twice, and then after that you have to pay like a new fee for the DS-160. So don't change your interview more than twice. Make sure that you pick a day that makes sense for you, that you can get to, that's allowing enough time to get your medical results. Okay, now what I told you we were going to talk about from the beginning. You have your interview. What we did is we went to Santo Domingo the day before our interview. It was on July 24th. So we went July 23rd. We got a cheap Airbnb. The embassy is not directly in Santo Domingo, so it's not in Colonial Zone, for example, where you would go on a trip or a vacation. It's a little bit on the outskirts of that. I would say like 20 minutes from there. So we decided to get an Airbnb much closer to the embassy just to make it easier that day. Like, we weren't there for a vacation. We found a really cheap one, booked our room, and then we got an Uber to the embassy. You can drive, and there are parking lots, like a ton of parking lots set up by just locals that live in the area. They have a yard, there's an empty lot, they set up a sign, and you have to pay to park there. Our appointment was for, I believe, 8 a.m. And we got there around 7:20, 7:30, because we wanted to be there early. I've heard people getting there 2 hours early. If you want to do that, that's completely fine. It doesn't actually really go based on your appointment time. It does go by the time that you arrive. But we were there at like 7:20 in the morning, so we felt like, you know, that's early enough. You cannot take a phone in. You can't take any electronics in. So leave those at your Airbnb, leave them in the hotel. If you take your own car, lock them in your car. Make sure you lock the car. You don't want anything to get stolen. But we thought it was easier. Let's just leave this in the Airbnb, not worry about it. I would recommend eating before your appointment, and I know that seems like such irrelevant advice to this process, but you're gonna be sitting there for a while. Some people are in and out in an hour, and some people it's like 4. So you just want to make sure that you eat. There is a little cafe outside that they sell some food and snacks, but it didn't open when we were there. And if it did, it was like later when we were already leaving. And once you're sitting down waiting for your appointment, you don't want to get up and go try to get food, because what happens if they call your number, then you miss it? It's just too nerve-wracking. You won't want to move, trust me. I didn't even want to go to the bathroom. You go, and outside the entrance, there's 3 lines. You want to stand in the middle line. Now, that may have changed, but we were there just in July. I'm pretty sure it hasn't. There will be a guy or 3 guys standing there. They'll ask you what you're there for, so make sure you tell them K-1 visa. They'll direct you to the proper line. You wait in line, you show them your printout that says that you have an appointment on that day. You can't just show up to the embassy when you want. You go through security, so if you have any belts, any watches, anything like that, you put them on the side, go through the scanner, just like at an airport. Then you go outside. So it's pretty much like a big building, and they have a courtyard and everything, but you have to go through security in this first building to get into that outside courtyard part, if that makes sense. So you go to another station, and there was a man or a lady standing there, and they asked you again what you were there for, and then they told us specifically where to sit. And it was kind of like a covered seating area with a bunch of benches. So she told us there were 3 sections. She said, sit in this section and we'll call you up when it's time to go. We sat there for probably 20 minutes, and then she called our group up. We went inside. Okay, everyone's still with me? I know this is so exciting. And then we went inside the building, into the embassy, and you get in a single file line. There's about 10 windows with a partition in the middle. It's kind of like a bank. And there's glass, and there's someone on the other side of the glass, and you wait to be called. You're literally just waiting in line. There's no number or anything like that at this point. So we were standing in that line for like an hour. So wear comfortable shoes if you can. It was super boring, literally just standing there. Finally, we get to the front of the line. We go to the booth, and this is where they're gonna collect your beneficiary's passport. So in this case, Chris, the Dominican's passport, his medical records. So when you pick them up for medical, you have to bring them to the embassy with you. That's your responsibility, and you cannot open them. Do not open them. There should be a note on it saying don't open them. They collect that at this first station. They collect your police record, which is another thing that you need, and you probably see it on your list. So allow enough time for you to, you can do it online, and you can also do it at the local police station, I believe. So you hand that in as well, and then you also hand in the confirmation page from CEAC that says that you have an appointment at this date and this time. What we did is printed out the main home screen from CEAC. And in the bottom right corner, if you know what I'm talking about, there's about 6 boxes, and it will say appointment set, and it says like the date and time. Just printed that, but what they want is you to click into that and then go to the actual appointment confirmation page. It was like a scary moment for a minute, because we were like, oh, they might not let us go, because he said, no, this is not it. This isn't what we need. Even though it said the date and appointment time, you need to go click into that actual page and print that one. All right, so they're going to keep that paperwork. They give you a number, like you're at a deli counter, they print out a number. You hold on to that number, and you go around the corner to the right, and you're going to see so many chairs and so many windows. There's 3 sections, so they're going to tell you sit in the first section, the second section, or the third section. The third section seemed to be, that was all the way at the end, it seemed to be people that were there for a tourist visa, where they can go to the usually US and visit for a short amount of time and come back. So there were a ton of people coming in and out of there. And it's just one big open room. We were in the first section, which was also very crowded, just rows of chairs. We sit down, and then you have, there's like, I don't even know, maybe 30 windows, all the way. There's glass from the bottom to the top, and they're partitioned just like the other section, not the other line that you were just in, but this one has chairs, so it's nicer. And that's where your number will pop up above the window that you're supposed to walk up to. So we waited there for 2.5 hours, almost 3 hours in those chairs, just sitting and waiting. And it is in no order. So prepare yourself, because I was so anxious that entire time. And if you're not an anxious person and you don't get stressed out about stuff like that, then you'll be fine. You'll just be bored, because remember, you don't have your phone, you don't have anything like that. I wonder if you can bring a book. I don't even know. I just didn't bring anything because I was so scared. And people watch, basically, and it's kind of crazy because you can't hear people's interviews really unless you're sitting like right in front of one of the windows, but you can see based on people's reactions and when they walk by you if they got approved or denied. So it's pretty intense. We waited a long time. They'll go from number 12 to 44 to 98 to 100 to 20. Like, you can't even time how long you think it will be. I was actually there the same day as another girl in this K-1 visa Dominican Republic group that I'm in, and she was in and out in like under 2 hours for the entire thing. And her appointment was actually later in the day than ours was. So again, you can't really go on that appointment date time. So we just sat there, waited, finally, and this is why I say to eat, because it was so long. They do have like a little water station, so that's good. Finally, our number is called, and we go up. We have our binder, all with the evidence, with a copy of the I-29F, with my affidavit of support, which is, some people say you need it for DR, some don't. I filled it out just in case they asked for it. I had all of our text messages back and forth, our Skype calls, our Facebook messages, our receipts from trips, and then a whole nother binder with like 100 photos of us, because I'm crazy. And his family and my family and our friends together with us, and on the back of every photo you're supposed to write the date, the location of the photo, and who's in it. So that took a long time. You just walk up to the partition, you're standing, you give an oath, both of you, that you swear to tell the truth. It's funny because you realize there's not enough room to even fit in the slot at the bottom a binder, so they can't even look at it if they want unless they come outside, which I didn't see anyone do. And then they asked if we wanted to do the interview in English or in Spanish. We had an American guy. I believe all of the interviewers are American, but they speak Spanish and English, obviously. We said we would do the interview in Spanish or English. Since he was American, we're just like, we'll just do it in English because Chris is fluent. This is another thing to look for. If, for example, Chris did not speak English, only Spanish, and I spoke only English, not Spanish, they would kind of pick up on, okay, they need me to speak English to her, but Spanish to him, and they'll probably ask you, how do you guys communicate? Is it with an app? Are you conversational in each other's languages? So a lot of people will think, if I go to the interview, will it screw me because I don't speak their language? I recommend everyone go to the interview. If the American pair can make it to the interview, I think it's vital that you do. So we just said, we'll just do the interview in English. He was nice. He had a really good demeanor about him, I think. He was kind of smiling. But then he got serious, down to business, and he asked kind of how we met, when we met, why did I live in the DR, what did I do for work, where did Chris go to school, he asked him that, when did he graduate, and has he been to Arizona to visit, has he met my family, and do we have wedding plans? That was it. He literally asked us like 6 questions probably. It was super fast. And he said he did not ask for any evidence. He didn't see one photo. He didn't look at any binder. And then he said, congratulations, according to my interview, you've been approved. And from my opinion, the big packet that they got shipped from the National Visa Center with our application, it did have notes on it, so on the front. So I'm pretty sure that they preliminarily decide if you're approved or not based on your packet, your information, and then they allow you that interview opportunity to get approved or denied. And then they gave us a piece of paper that says that we have been approved, but it was a conditional approval. It needed to go back through their system or whatever. They said that his passport, because they keep his passport, so don't freak out if that happens, or her if she's the Dominican. They'll keep the passport. They said it will be ready for pickup in about a week at the embassy, but we decided, and we paid extra, which you do on CAC, to have it delivered to our house in Santiago because we were super busy that week with work, so we didn't have time to make another trip back to the capital. If you're in a bigger rush to get back to the States, I would recommend picking it up because it's ready a few days sooner. Which makes sense, obviously. They have to have a courier deliver it to you, and they deliver it directly to your house. I kept getting a number from an unknown number on my phone, and I didn't pick it up a few times. And then I was like, oh wait, my number's on it for the delivery. And it was that guy, so he was outside. He gives you the passport, and he also gives you your whole application, again, from the embassy, but it's sealed. You can't open it. You're only supposed to open the part with the passport, which is on the outside, and you can use that at the airport. Oh, and then when you leave, I know you're probably thinking, how do you get home if you took an Uber there, but you don't have your phones? We left, and there are a ton of taxis outside waiting. We just took a taxi back. Like I said, our Airbnb was, I think, 7 minutes from the embassy, so it was perfectly fine. I have heard other people who maybe have a tougher case. Maybe they only met each other one time in person. Remember, it has to be within the last 2 years, or maybe it was only once. They might separate the couple. So they could ask me to stay up and answer questions and send Chris to sit down and then switch, and then they ask him questions, maybe, more personal questions, or they don't want us to feed off of each other or answer for each other. That didn't happen with us. Sometimes they'll ask you way harder questions than they asked us, and go way more in detail. If you don't have as strong of a case, or if you have some not suspicious, but other factors like children in the picture, if he had kids from a previous relationship, and are they coming, are they going, do I know them, do they know me, do I have kids in the States, have they met him? That makes it more complicated. If we had been divorced before, you need the official divorce certificates on both sides. You have done a visa application before and it got denied, they'll ask you more difficult questions. So it's not always guaranteed that you'll just have 5, 6 easy questions about your relationship and plans, and then that's it and you're approved. We also front loaded our K-1 visa application a lot. We had a lot of detail in there. So I really think that if you can make it to the DR for the interview as the American side, I definitely recommend it. I think everyone I know that's been through it recommends it. I think it just builds a stronger case altogether, and then they have the opportunity to meet you, see you. Personally, I think so much communication and interpretation is not verbal and just based on looks and energy and whatnot, but here I go getting into something irrelevant. I just think if you can both go. And then, like I said, the passport should be available within 1 to 2 weeks. You'll see your status change at CAC on the back end. It says approved, issued, and then it will say ready for pickup, passport ready for pickup, I believe, and that's the last step that you're waiting for. Sometimes it will say administrative processing, and that can take a while. I've unfortunately seen some people stuck in AP for 3 weeks, a month, but that's rare. Usually if you're approved at the interview and you get that white slip that says, it's a letter that says preliminarily approved, then you should be all good. A week and a half, 2 weeks tops, and you'll be able to buy the ticket. And then the other option is you get denied at the interview, outright denied, or you get a slip that asks for more evidence, and they'll mark off what they need to see. They'll say, we need more photos of you two, we need your birth certificate, something maybe you didn't include, we need proof of your divorce. I've heard that's kind of common, they just didn't include the divorce certificate. We need your child's birth certificate. So they'll tell you what you need. You have the opportunity to get all of that together, send it in as soon as possible, and hopefully that's all you need to get approved. It is kind of the moment that you've been waiting for and prepping for months, but if you did your due diligence and you have a legitimate relationship and everything, then it should go well. For me, I'm a very I like to plan and know what's gonna happen, so I do a lot of research beforehand, looking at forums and Visa Journey and asking people and stuff. So I thought it might be helpful for some of you that have that in common with me, for me to kind of lay it out for you and exactly what happened that day. And I think that it was a long day, kind of longer than I expected it to be, but it went really well, and obviously it ended in the outcome that we were hoping for. I would be happy to answer any questions that you have. Just comment them below. I'm sure that I missed a couple things that might be helpful for you, so feel free to comment, I'll answer them. And if you have any questions or video requests about this process or anything else about expat life in the DR, being with a Dominican, moving to the US, to the DR, anything, feel free to comment. I'd be happy to do a video for you guys. Hi, here's my puppy. Hi. He's so cute. That's Ronan. And again, if you can hit subscribe and turn on notifications, that helps me so much, and I would be really appreciative of that. Thank you guys so much for watching and for trusting me with this information, and I can't wait to answer some questions for you. I hope you guys are off to an amazing 2020, and I will see you guys soon.